Hey, it worked. So, I am here. Sorry, I'm trying to find a good filter. Um, there isn't really one. This is the best one I see so far. But, if anybody actually sees this, I just wanted to elaborate on some stuff. So, I guess to start from the beginning so you guys know that, like, I'm not just bullshitting. I was adopted when I was 6 months old, and my biological mother was doing hardcore drugs, and she was drinking while me and my other siblings were in the womb, and it caused a lot of side effects. And I don't know about my brothers and sisters, but I do know about me, and I do know that I was born with fetal alcoholic syndrome. Um, we all have some sort of mental disability, and most of them are like emotional based. For me personally, I fight really hard depression and bipolar and attachment disorder, and it just sucks. Um, when I was My depression started when I was about 8. When I first realized that I had depression, I guess it was when I was 8, and hey, um, it kind of hit me out of the blue that I wasn't normal like all the other kids. None of the other kids had a rubber band on their arm, and none of the other kids would pull it back so far and let it hit their wrist so hard to the point where it would bleed. Um, it was it was just a really hard time for me. As a little kid, I always felt really badly when one of my siblings didn't get what they wanted, they could have easily gotten it. Um, yeah, how are you guys doing today? What's up?
Food's ready downstairs.
Okay.
Hot on the stove if you want some. It's good. Delicious.
Um. Anyways, thank you. Back to what I was saying. Um, my depression started at 8, and that's when I realized that like I wasn't just like everybody else. Um, by the time I was 10, I had already started self harming. I got to the point where I would have a pen and I would click it like this and have the pen hit my wrist, and I would do it over and over and over again. And I would have a rubber band on that same wrist, and I would hit my wrist with it. I would hold ice in my hand so tightly until it hurt. I would take really cold showers, and sometimes I got sick. I would take really hot showers, and it would burn my skin, and I didn't know why, but it felt good. Um, when I was 12, that's when I started actually. I wouldn't necessarily say actually starting to draw blood, but it was just really hard for me because that's when I started cutting. And I would go to school and I would come home and cut. I would cut after dinner, I would cut after dessert, I would cut after everything. I was cutting constantly, and that sensation of cutting, it was my drug. Like it was all I had. Like it made me feel better, and so that's what I would do. I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, and going to church, I would get bullied. Um, I got bullied at school. I actually didn't even go to public school until 8th grade, and I got bullied constantly. And I actually got beat up, and I got 2 weeks of in school suspension, and the other kid only got 2 days. So I dropped out because I couldn't handle it. Um, I refused to go back to school until my junior year in high school, and it was just really hard. When I was 14, my parents finally found out that I was self harming, through a church member. And of course, I'm using your bed to make a video because there's no light over there.
Stupid bitch.
Thanks.
Hi, everybody! Hi! Hi.
It's just the same, like, 4 people.
Really?
Yeah.
From earlier?
Mm-hmm.
From the other times you recorded?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Hey! Wait. Hey, YouTube! You guys should get real people to actually follow us. Because every time we make a video, it's the same people over and over. And it makes us feel bad.
Do these even go to YouTube?
Yeah.
Because if they don't, I'm gonna be pissed.
That is funny. My phone's showing through my hands.
I know, I tried to push a button, but it didn't work.
Oh my god, Steven, I dropped it in the bathtub. But it still works.
Oh, you lucky little bitch!
I was trying to change the song and it was like, psh, I was like,
I would have been so pissed.
I was about to drown with my phone.
See, I tried to make a video, but I don't have enough memory on my phone or on the SD card. So I was like, okay. I haven't even used the SD card.
Steven, I feel alive and rejuvenated after my bath.
Always leaving my door open. Anyways, back to what I was talking about. Let me close this because it's some pretty personal shit. I feel like I could just stand here and have like some dramatic wind. Dramatic flip. Anyways, I don't even know if you guys can hear me, but by the time I was 14, I already told you that I was getting bullied constantly. Anyways, I didn't have a lot of friends at church or anywhere, and the friends I did have, I wouldn't say they were bad influences, but we were all going through like a really hard time. So the 3 of us were self-harming, and it just wasn't good. We weren't helping each other stop, but we were there for each other, and to this day, I will always consider them my best friends. They were there for me when nobody else was, and they never judged me on the way I looked. They always judged me on who I was on the inside, and they always believed in me, and they always believed that I would go somewhere with life. When I turned 16, I decided to go back to public school and try it again. And so when I went back, I decided that I was going to approach school completely differently. And I decided that I wasn't going to talk to anybody. I wasn't going to try and make friends. I didn't want friends. I decided that I was just going to go for an education. But as a 16-year-old, everybody knows that that doesn't work out. A 16-year-old needs friends. So the first day of school, I walked into my choir class, and there was this guy there. And I was like, oh, he's really cute. I wasn't out of the closet yet. But I was like, I have to know this guy. I have to get to know him. I have to know him. Like, I don't care in what way, but I have to know who he is. Like, he has to be a part of my life. The year went on. I did end up making friends. And the stuff that happened with this guy, I don't really remember it, like, at all. I was going through a lot of shit back then, and to this day, I will never know the truth behind the whole story and what actually happened, because I was a completely different person back then. I was a compulsive liar, and I couldn't help to lie to anybody. Like, I would lie to everybody, and it didn't matter about what. It was just constant lies coming out of my mouth. I was an asshole. I was manipulative to everybody. I got what I wanted, and I already know that I played a really big part. And if I stayed in school, and if I was like actually, I don't know. I know that at one point I could have ruined his life, and it wasn't okay. I remember one day, and this is what really messed me up. He said that he was going to come over to my house, and he said that he wanted to do stuff with me. And before he was came over to my house, he went over to a mutual friend of ours who also liked him, and he kissed her and like made out with her or whatever. I don't even know. It was like a big deal to me back then, and it messed me up really badly in the head. And I didn't realize back then, but like, it's really easy for me to either be distant from people or attach myself to people or things or places. And I didn't realize how attached I was to him back then. And I thought that it was just a crush and that I could, but I never did. And we tried making it work multiple times, but it just didn't work out. And I don't know if it was due to him because I didn't really know him or if it was just the person I was back then, but it sucked. We were still talking, and when my junior year ended, he completely disappeared. And I was completely destroyed because when I was going through my depression, he was really the only person that I felt comfortable enough to talk to about it. And he was one of the only people that helped me stop self-harming. And when he was gone, it just all flooded back in, and it wasn't good. So for my 17th birthday, I was admitted into the mental hospital. And me being me back then, I manipulated everybody there. I lied my way out of there. It took a while, but I wouldn't accept their help like at all. I didn't feel like I needed it, even though I had fresh cuts all up and down my arm. It was hard for me to move my arm at all because I had cuts from here to here on my shoulder. And I don't know if you can see the scars, but there's scars literally from where my palm is all the way up to my forearm. And it's just, they were all fresh, and it was bad. And for some reason in my head, I didn't think that I needed help, but I did. I have been a therapist after therapist after therapist, and it's never really helped me, like, at all. After I left the mental hospital, I was admitted into the outpatient program, and I met one of my best friends there, and his name was Dustin, and we would hang out a lot, and there was like a clique there, like there's cliques everywhere when kids are in high school. And I remember the first day I met him, and he said something that he didn't really mean. He said that he wanted to like hurt everybody there, and he got really upset, and so he started hitting himself, and then he started crying because he didn't want to hurt anybody, including himself, because he knew that hurting himself would hurt other people. And I just knew like he just really wanted to get better, and I was like, you would be a really cool friend, and I feel like we would be good friends, and I feel like we would help each other a lot. And I actually meant just friends this time. Literally the first day he invited me to go hang out with some of the other kids up at the park, and I was like, cool, okay. So we did, and it was fun. Like, I remember we met every Monday, Tuesday. We met every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And so we would always go to the park those days. And when I left the outpatient program, we kind of lost contact. But it was still a good thing. Anyways, when I got back into school, I received a text from a number that I didn't recognize, and it turned out to be the guy from my junior year. And he just was like, hey. And I was like, what do you want? And I went off on him because I was like, you can't do this to me. Not again. And literally within I believe it was like the first week of going back to school, starting my senior year, I already had fresh cuts all up and down my arm, and it was back to the beginning. I wasn't admitted back into the mental hospital, but it was just bad. I couldn't stand going to school. my anxiety was too high. I ended up skipping a lot of school because I didn't want to see him. I didn't want to be around him. Um, there was one day when I went to school, and some kids in the hallway were talking about like depression and not committing suicide, but just suicide in general. And I went over there and I was talking about it with them, and I was like, I don't even remember what the conversation was about, but I remember him coming up and him getting mad at me, and he was like, "You don't know anything about suicide." And I was like, "I just got out of the mental hospital like 3 weeks ago, and you're gonna tell me I don't know anything about suicide? Okay, you can fuck off." I was pissed. Like, I was hurt. And it became this huge thing at school to the point where it was literally me and my friends against him and his friends. And it was bad. It got to the point where people were coming up to me at the lunch table telling me to leave him alone and he wasn't a fag, and they would call me a fag and queer and gay boy and all this other stuff. I also came out of the closet over the summer, and my parents, it was just bad all over. But trip down memory lane, it sucks. Trying to remember what happened after that. Oh yeah, it was like this huge war. It was this like huge fight between everybody, and it just wasn't like a good thing like at all. It got to the point where we literally had separate routes, and I was done. I went to my therapist at school and I asked her if I could get a no contact contract against him, and it ended up being put against me, and it sucked. And it wasn't just him that put it against me, it was one of the people that I considered my best friend at the time. And I didn't know what I did to him at all, but I did something to offend him, and it sucked. But yeah, that was my high school experience. A little while later, though, actually, we started talking again, me and this guy, and we decided to try and become friends again, and invited him to go to a football game with me and some of my other friends. He told me he would meet us there, and so he met us there, and I ended up getting separated from my friends, and I was just like standing around this crowd with him and his friends and like mutual people that we knew from class that we had together, and it started getting like really heated. And he told me to walk away, and I was like, I don't see why I should leave when you're so good at it or something. I don't know, it was some smart ass little remark that I thought I was so clever for coming up with right off the spot. But yeah, I remember he said something about, or at least I think he said something about suicide and how I should like go kill myself or something. I don't know. I don't really remember. I just remember him saying something, and it triggered me to the point where that night I went home and I cut, hoping it would help me feel better, and it didn't. And the next morning I was completely done. At the time I was on 3 different medications, and I should have realized back then that the medications were causing me to hear things and see things that weren't actually there or real at all. My medications were bad to the point where I couldn't stop shaking. My hands were literally like this all day. I couldn't hold still. My anxiety was out of the roof. I was getting random bloody noses. I was blacking out. I couldn't sleep. And when I did, it was impossible for me to wake up. It was hard. And so the next morning when I did wake up, I took the lid off of 2 of the capsules, which I had just gotten, and I grabbed a water bottle. And I remember how easy it was to just do that. And next thing I remember, I was in the hospital, and some guy was telling me that I didn't try and commit suicide. And I didn't know why, but I agreed with him because that's what he was telling me to do, and I was so like hyped up on drugs at that moment that I couldn't comprehend what was going on. I don't really remember the next couple months at all. Or there's like 5 months where I don't remember, because after the hospital, next thing I remember was it was next thing I really remember was going home from a car. I was driving my car and I went home, and I don't know, I had like started smoking weed a lot, and that's like all I ever wanted to do, or all I ever did with my friends, and it was a bad habit, and I became a stoner, and it helped for a while, but it didn't really help at all, just because it doesn't really take anything away or substitute anything. It just causes you to help you find a way to bottle those emotions up or numb those emotions, and that's not good, because you have to face reality at some point. The fact is that you have depression, the fact is that you have been through shit, and the fact is that, yeah, life's fucking sucks. The fact is that, yeah, sometimes you are alone, which is why it's important while you're younger to realize or learn how to be independent. It's important for you to not do drugs or drink or rely on medications. Well, in my case, medications won't help me. I also understand that for some people medications do help. I'm not saying that medications are a piece of shit or anything like that. I do know that they do help some people. um, but at some point in your life, you're going to need to find either some way to rely on yourself to make yourself feel better, because in the end, nobody's actually going to be there for you. This guy ended up leaving, and completely, and I realized it was good, but I still think about him today, and this shit happened 2.5 years ago, and it sucks. And I haven't been in a relationship since he left my life, because I've never been that completely honest or open with anybody until now, and I'm trying to realize that being honest and open about my depression isn't necessarily something that I should keep to myself or secret. It is something that I should talk about with an adult or somebody that can help me, because I already know that I'm not strong enough to do this on my own, and it isn't a weakness to admit that you're not strong enough. It is a strength to admit that you know your limits and know that you can't handle being around pills, or handle being around drugs, or handle being around knives or anything. So there's that. Anyways, to continue on.
Bitch, you got more comfortable on my fucking bed?
Yeah,
Bitch.
I did. What are those? What are
Your
those?
dignity in 3-packs.
What are those? Yeah, 'cause my dignity is 3-packs big. Nigga. Last year, we're just gonna skip ahead because I got kicked out. It was hard. I got my first job. Whoop-de-doo. Anyways, last year, I already started the video with this, about how my best friend from the mental hospital that I met, he overdosed on his medication on the anniversary of the day that I overdosed.
Ooh, Chris has crack in his pocket. I said, ooh, you have crack in your pocket.
And I don't know, this time around through depression has just been really hard. Being kicked out this time, my parents wouldn't allow me back home, which sucked. There was a point where my car broke down and I was living in my car. And I was literally on the streets. And I begged them to let me come back and they wouldn't. Your bed is so much more comfortable than mine.
I know.
I'm so pissed.
Oh, sucks to be you. Oh my god. Please don't have it in my other phone.
When are you leaving?
When am I leaving?
For your date or your hookup?
Dang, I'm putting my business on YouTube, bitch.
They can't see you.
Where's my other phone? Oh, move. Scoot over. Get up.
Oh my god.
Get up. I have to push my bed all the way through so long. You're not your holy mind.
No, I have to get my charger first.
No, you don't. I wasn't telling you to get out.
Well, I am.
Take the extension cords in the closet.
Oh, that's too much.